It's been too long since I made a video. This thing even work? It's even on? Oh. Here, look at this. I'm on the new School of Permaculture small farm site. If you look here, you see I'm in a row of kind of dilapidated stone and pome fruit orchard, and that's kind of nestled in, you kind of see here, these big trees, into a pecan orchard. If we look back here past the bees, you can kind of see, and that other homestead over there, that's a much larger pecan orchard. So tree systems, man, are they massively desirable. I was on a consult a month ago, and I told them, I said, man, this question is going to lead me to a video, and it's worth discussing. So we learn permaculture and we eat with our eyes. How many elements and systems can we put into zone 1, 2, like all the zones? And the three big tree systems that are most often talked about, a little bit different in the tropics, but would be food forestry, super rad. It would be an orchard system, kind of like the one I'm in right now, and silvopasture, where you have two kind of crops. One could be animals grazing through, you can also hay it, and then your tree system. You do crops in there too. Mark Shepard has done some really amazing work with silvopasture. So you imagine you're on a consultation, you're doing consultation and design work for somebody, and they get to the point where they start telling you they want to do tree systems, and they're really excited, and they've watched a lot of YouTube videos, maybe like this one, and it comes up to, well, what should we put into the system? So the first thing to know is one fruit tree in maturity will give you more fruit than your family could probably eat, right? So if you're a family of 7, maybe you start maxing it out, but probably not. So if you want something like a food forest or orchard or silvopasture system, you've got to ask yourself the question, like, what is your goals? Like, what are you doing? And there's two big forks to go here, and they can overlap, but one is for market and the other one's for homesteading. Now, just because I said one tree can give you all the fruit that you need doesn't mean that you only do one tree. You know, you're saying you want a food forest system, you need redundancy, and food security is probably in the goals as well. So you got to look at the management of it, right? So let's start with an orchard. So this orchard, you can see behind me and in front of me here, let's take a look this way. All right, so see here, it's mainly clean tilled around it. That's one way to look at this, like a clean tilled orchard, meaning that I could come up here with a machine and mechanically harvest this. And that's typically what's going to be looked at. I mean, even this small orchard's too big to harvest it and maintain it without some machinery. All right, so that's kind of clean till. That means below the trees, you don't have a lot of things growing. It's probably grass, which that's a whole other conversation. Putting grass and trees together actually suppress the grasses and suppress the trees. They are chemically at war in the root system, but that's a topic for another day. And then if you're looking at silvopasture system, that's also a much larger system, and you have animals or hay, and then you're having other mechanical harvests going on like something like these pecan trees behind me, right? And so there's quite a bit of work going into the maintenance of the trees for the purpose of going to the market. And they're typically done in such a way that machines could come in and do some harvesting. You also have to look at the drop dates and other management items. Now, when it comes to food forests, that can also happen, but you've got to be a little bit different. Food forest is typically built with an ecosystem inside of it, where the other two systems may, in a permaculture sense, I would design them where they're designed with ecosystem in the periphery. But in a food forest, it is the ecosystem, which makes it so incredibly amazing with low maintenance over time. So in that system, you can maintain it by hand better because the walkways and pathways, they're not clean on the ground like this pecan tree. It may have tansy and yarrow and comfrey and walking onions all underneath it, where putting a mechanical harvesting machine is too much, right? It'll ruin some other layers in the food forest system. So the big question is, are you going to market? Big questions are you going to market or are you homesteading? And once you figure that out, then that will kind of zone you in on what to do. You can still have a small orchard that you're only doing by hand. And if you're in, like, for example, I'm in Texas, and so we have 3 massive pests that infiltrate stone fruits and pomes that there's really no solid organic way to get rid of. But there is some mitigation that can happen on a large level. On a smaller level, you can put fruit bags over the fruits and let them grow in the bag, so any of the moths or curriculos, however you pronounce that, can't get to the fruit. If, for example, you choose to do a market-based system that's larger on a homestead that's really for your family, that's kind of out of order, and you may not be choosing the right method for you. So these are things that are not usually talked about, especially when I'm hired and even when I'm teaching permaculture. So make the good decisions for you, figure out what you want to do. If you're not a demonstration site or education site, really hone in on your goals and say, this is what I want, this is what our family wants, and make the best decisions there. So until next time, I love you in Jesus' name. Hopefully I have some updates on this farm.